Well, yes, Adam, the long-awaited gas recovery, it's quite a big thing for government.
Yeah, look, certainly long-awaited, but look, the challenge really just starts now, because the fact is the gas prices in Australia, they're still so high. They're still $9 per gigajoule, whereas overseas they're still $6. They've barely fallen this year. The ACCC is very concerned, actually, that there'll be a shortage of gas next year. So it's a huge challenge for the government to basically have this plant built, but then it's got to get the price down so we can have cheaper power.
A lot of work to do and a bit of dance going on between the government and the sector. Well, let's hear first from the man who runs energy giant Shell in Australia, Country Chair Tony Nunan, on what he thinks of the government's package.
Well, I think the announcements this week from the Prime Minister are a great step forward of really demonstrating the importance of gas for Australian customers. What's most important about it is a recognition of the importance of markets being both transparent and also competitive. The ACCC has had an ongoing review into the East Coast market with a particular focus on the supply side for several years. We support that and we continue to support it because we believe that transparency in the market is a really important thing. What we like about the announcement from the Prime Minister in particular is the concept of hubs, because what a hub will do is create more liquidity, more competition and more choice for buyers in being able to do that.
Will that be enough? It's a long way from a Henry hub, though, isn't it? I mean, will it have the depth, do you think, to deliver on that?
It will take time, Tiki, and it won't get to the point, of course, given the difference in scale between the US and Australia, it won't get to the point of having the same depth as a Henry hub. But we do believe that it's a concept that's important. And it's a concept that's important here because clearly there are buyers in the market who would prefer to have access to international spot pricing. The best way to do that is to create a liquid and deep hub here in Australia.
And when it comes to the threat of a mandatory code?
So on a code of conduct, that's something that we'll work with the government on. I saw the announcement this week, like everyone else in the market. What we'll do is work with government to seek to understand what's desired from that. Like I said, we do support transparency and we think that the ACCC inquiry has helped on the supply side. I think a code of conduct, if it is being considered through the government, which has been announced, it will be important that it applies to the entire market. And anything that covers both the seller's side as well as the buyer's side and helps bring both transparency to a market and competition to a market, we see as a good thing.
Now, of course, for some manufacturers, the government's announcements have fallen a little bit short. In particular, the government talks about a revised deal that strengthens price commitments, which I would have thought they'd be very focused on. Now, how do you think this is going to develop to make sure that the gap closes between spot prices and contract prices?
What we saw with the announcement yesterday was a deep desire from the Prime Minister to have a gas market that functions in a way that provides choice to customers. Historically, we've had a market where there has been a predominance of term contracts that have been put in place. Customers have asked for access to international spot pricing, and what the Prime Minister announced yesterday is creating a hub concept that will seek to do that. That will then give choice to customers, and those that are really keen to get access to those international spot prices will be capable of doing that through traded hubs. Likewise, some customers who continue to prefer term contracts will then have a mechanism to be able to negotiate those. I think the key point here is a market that will have more choice is only a benefit for customers.
Shell is looking, or seems to be looking, at the Australian market as a bit of a testing ground for alternative energy. You've got quite a lot on your plate down here.
Yeah, that's right, Tiki, and we're really fortunate because of that. We've got a world-class gas and LNG business here in Australia, something that we've got a deep pride in. But likewise, we see Australia as a great opportunity to be able to put the building blocks of our strategy into place. And that's a strategy that continues to invest in our gas businesses and our LNG businesses, but likewise take the opportunity to go into a power business with the acquisition of ERM, which is a fantastic business here in Australia that supplies electricity to industrial customers and to business customers. Likewise, Gangari Solar, so that's a solar project that we're currently building up near Wandoan. We own Sonnen, the battery provider, and what you can see happening here in Australia is we're putting together the building blocks that will create the energy system that we want to see in the future. And the reason why we're doing that is because we can then provide to our customers that seamless integration. which is really, really important for them, and it's what they're after longer term.
Going to your world-class gas assets here, now obviously you've had some challenges with that. Prelude, if I can start with, I mean, it's frustrating you've had these safety issues. Is there any chance that Prelude will produce LNG this year?
So Prelude for us is an important asset in our portfolio. It's an asset that we always take a multi-decade view of, and it's an asset that we've been making sure we work really hard to deliver on the long-term promise that it provides. The reason is we see that the LNG market globally will continue to require demand, will continue to need to be supplied, and that's the important role that Prelude will play in that. Where we're at the moment is going through our hydrocarbon restart process. That's a process that we will take step by step, and we'll do it step by step because we want to do it right. And as a result, I can't give timeframes on how long it will take. It will take as long as it needs to take so that we get it right.
In the meantime, of course, Ichthys next door has been producing for a couple of years now. When I spoke to your predecessor, Zoe Yunovic, she acknowledged that the basin is connected. I'm just wondering how much Ichthys has sucked out of your part of the reservoir.
It is a unique basin, and we always focus on what's within our business, and Prelude being an important part of it. What we're focused on is making sure that we do things right and that we set it up for the long-term success in the decades to come. What our job is to make sure is that it's a well-run asset that delivers energy into a global portfolio that's going to need more of it into the future.
What about the North West Shelf? Is Shell globally still committed to the North West Shelf as a core part of its global asset base?
You know, Tikki, one of the things for me coming into Shell, I realised that as an organisation, it is just such deep pride that we have in that project. Something that started, literally back in the 70s and 80s and was a nation-building project. We are immensely proud to be a part of that, and we're immensely proud to be with such a successful project for such a long period of time. It was a core asset then, it's a core asset now, and what we're focused on is making sure that we continue to work with our partners and with Woodside as the operator to add value to that venture.
Yeah, because, I mean, quite clearly in July there was, what, $11 billion worth of write-downs by the group, and the bulk of that seemed to be here in Australia. So in terms of the global restructuring, I'm just wondering, are we going to see changes to, for example, the North West Shelf or other assets here? Because you haven't got Browse and Scarborough coming on, have you?
So what we do, Tikki, we always look at our portfolio from a global perspective. As you said, there have been impairments this year, and that's a reflection of the change in the market with what's happened with COVID, a significant reduction in demand and short-term uncertainty as a result of price. And so as that price flows back into our assets, we reassess them, and hence the reason for the impairments. That doesn't then link into strategic choice. The way that we look at strategic choice is on a portfolio basis, and each one of our assets, we review them on an as-needs basis to understand how we can continue to extract value from them. We do exactly the same for our portfolio here in Australia, and we'll continue to do it for each of our assets here in Australia and globally.
Finally, for you, I mean, you've come on this year, Tony, and it's been a baptism of fire for you, I know, literally with fires and then with COVID. I mean, how have you found the organisation here and the morale, and how have you managed it all?
Oh, the thing that's impressed me most, Tikki, has been the way our people have responded to the challenges that have come their way. I'm immensely proud to lead an organisation that has continued to find ways to deliver energy to our customers, even though we've had the challenges of COVID. And I'm hugely, hugely appreciative of what our people have done to keep our business going. And I think it's times like this, with what we've seen through COVID, is just how wonderful and innovative our workforces are.
Tony Nunan, it's been very interesting to talk to you, and it'll go on being interesting. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Tikki.